Hey everyone, it's Eric with FirearmTutorials.com, and today we're looking at the follow-up of the 300 Blackout upper. So I talked before about the Ultor upper receiver, the Noveske barrel. I was looking for a handguard, so I went ahead and picked that up. And you see the Flaming Pig muzzle device on the end there. So I just wanted to give you guys a look at this, kind of how I've set it up, and talk a little bit about the process of putting this together. You see here that I've got a couple different rail panels, obviously for the Keymod setup here. So Knights URX 8.5 inch upper. Like I said, I was kind of debating between this one and the Noveske, which was 1/2 inch longer. So here's the deal. The 8.5A was available. The 10 was out of stock. And the reason I went with the 8.5 on a 10.5 inch barrel is because I was considering, and I guess I still am, purchasing the SR7 from AAC. Now AAC's mounting system, you get a flash hider or a muzzle brake. Then when the suppressor slides over, it actually sits back a little further on the barrel. And then there's a ratchet little tab on the side of the suppressor that you press in to lock and unlock. So the reason I tried to go with a rail that didn't go, all the way to the end of the barrel is because I've seen in certain instances where you have a suppressor like that and it'll end up going just inside the rail here, and then you don't have a lot of room really at all to push that little tab to unscrew it. You end up using a butter knife or some other kind of tool. So one of those things that, I wish that maybe I had gone with a 10, but we'll see. It's not the end of the world. I think it still looks okay. So regarding the URX, I'll talk about the install on that shortly, but let's just take a look at what we've got here. Okay, so here's a look at it with the octane suppressor on it. You'll see, obviously, we've got a little bit more barrel showing. And to be honest, this Flaming Pig is very close to the weight of this whole suppressor, if not heavier. I don't know what this thing weighs, but it definitely isn't any lighter than this suppressor, I'll tell you that. But overall, this still looks good. I actually did shoot this. I took a couple shots with just some factory 300 Blackout with the suppressor on just to make sure the bolt would lock back, and it worked just fine. So any of you guys that have one of these octanes, you can use it with the subsonic 300 Blackout. It sounded great. Okay, so if we look down the business end here, you can see we've still got a good amount of clearance inside that rail. This is a thicker barrel, obviously, than usual, being 300 Blackout, and you still have a good amount of room in there. I can't say with any certainty that a suppressor would slide down in there and you'd still have room to get it on and off easily, but just wanted to give you guys a look at that. Other than that, if we look at the finish, you can see it doesn't actually match the Ultor here. The Ultor seems to have a little bit more satin-type black finish. And this URX is one of those ones where you can, make a mark on it with your nail. But nonetheless, it still, I think, is a great rail. It's definitely thick, durable. I like it. As far as the Keymod goes, I can't say I'm crazy about it. It may grow on me, but if I had to do another one right now, I would probably go with the M-Lock instead of the Keymod. So regarding the Keymod stuff, so you see these long plastic panels are the actual Knights URX ones, and you see I've got them fashioned here. These are the Noveske NSR ones. If you've seen, there's a few other videos of people talking about how hard these are to get on. Now they were showing it on the actual Noveske NSR. Allegedly, Keymod is kind of a universal standard, so you should be able to use any Keymod accessory in any Keymod rail. There is no way in hell that these will go on the URX. I've installed a lot of things over the years. I've done some things that are very difficult. This is impossible on this rail. So if we look at how they go on, you'll see basically they're supposed to snap into place. But if you look at just the amount of material you have here for it to lock on, I'll give you a closer look at this. So if we zoom in here, so again, this is the actual Knights panel. But you see you've got a fair amount. Where is that little pointy thing? I guess I could use this. But you see how much, I can almost get that piece of wood under there. This is just a Q-tip. Now if we look at this Noveski one, there is like no room at all for this to get under there. So basically, I just don't think that it's humanly possible for you to press this down against the Keymod opening and be able to slide it into place and get it to snap and actually lock. Not to mention all of these. I couldn't even get, you know, a couple of them. Let's see if there's some of the ones I tried. I think I tried the hand stops. So I ended up actually, you can see these little marks where I tried to press it down and hit it with like a mallet or something like that. That one's a little worse. And then I finally gave up. These things were like 14 bucks or something like that. So I just decided to get something that was a little better. If anybody wants these things, send me a message, send me your address. I'll give them to you for free because I'm done with them. So if we look at these Knights ones, I like them, but like I said, the NSR, the Noveski ones were way too hard to get installed. These I actually think might be a little too easy because they, of course I say that now and now I can't get them to move. Okay, see, they do slide on and off very, very easily. I haven't had enough time to really shoot this. I shot it a couple times after I assembled it just to make sure the gas block was working and all that. So this one feels like it's in place a little better than these other ones, but this is about what I was expecting the process to be like with the Noveski ones. You know, you kind of push down and slide it forward, and definitely a lot harder than these Knights ones. I don't think these are loose enough to where it's going to be a problem when I'm actually shooting, but nonetheless something to watch out for. Now these are interesting. So I found these from one of the places that I buy my parts from, and this is what they are, rail scales. Don't know much about them at all. They were not cheap. I think it was like 60 bucks for 3 of these things. But the thing I like about these, and I left the bottom one loose, I think. No, I did tighten it up a bit. But with these, you have an even wider range as far as when and where you install them, because you actually use an Allen key to torque them down. Now the idea behind this Keymod thing is that you should be able to quickly and easily move your rail accessories around, forward, backwards, swap things in and out. And while the concept sounds great, I don't really know anybody that does that. It's like you get your rifle set up the way you want it, and then that's pretty much it. You don't ever really mess around with taking things on and off or moving them. So if we look at it a little closer, here is the system I'm talking about. So you've got some Allen heads here, and then, you know, you kind of just tighten them in place. So pretty cool. The texture of these is real aggressive. I got these because they looked a lot like the Knights URX 3.1 panels I have on my 5.56 upper. And they are similar in some ways, but they actually, I like the name. They're called rail scales because they actually do kind of feel like scales. They're a little sharp, but I noticed when I was looking at these the first time, I thought, well, maybe these are actually so sharp that if you're, you know, using a sling and then you go to hang it, and if you've got, depending on what kind of clothing you've got, it could, you know, tear up your clothing, but it doesn't. So good product overall, just a little expensive. These scales here, I said they weren't sharp, but you know, for some people that are shooting without gloves, I actually did cut myself while I was making this video. So they're real easy to modify. All you need is a small, I just started doing this in between shooting, but I just took a small file here and filed them down, and there's no adverse wear to these. You can't, they don't get all chewed up or anything like that. You can't even really tell that I have taken a file to these. So other than that, I think this rail looks pretty cool with the combination of these panels. Like I said, I wish I maybe had gone a little bit longer, but again, it was what was in stock, and I was afraid of, you know, putting that SR7 on here and not having the clearance I need to get it on and off. But let's take a look at the installation process in a little more detail. This was a little tricky, and I knew this going in. I had mentally prepared myself for this to be just a pain in the ass to install, but it actually wasn't too bad. So you can see the gas block underneath here, and it's got the set screw in there, so I ended up putting the set screw in with some rock set. The Noveske barrel, if you watched my other video, actually has a pin that you line up and it locks in place along with the notch in the barrel. Not an uncommon thing in a lot of these. Obviously, there was no way I was going to be able to do that. There was no opening in the key slots or anything like that. So since it's underneath the handguard like that, I didn't really see a need for having both in there. So we'll see how it holds up, but I don't anticipate there being any problems with that. Okay, so regarding the install process on this, you know, I've installed a lot of rails and done a lot of things over the years with gun stuff. I won't say that this was the hardest thing I've done, but it was pretty difficult. So not necessarily detail oriented, but just because it took a hell of a lot of torque to get this thing working. In addition, I had some trouble with the instructions, which I'll talk about. So here's the wrench you get to install it. It comes with it. You don't have to buy it separately like the older URX rail. But I will say that Knights did a hell of a job with this. So this is basically how it goes. This hook end fits right on the side of the rail here, and then this plastic piece sets against the side of the rail, obviously, and then you torque it either way, left or right. And I did this probably about 6 or 7 times between, you know, trial and error and just playing with it. And there's no marks on the rail at all, so Knights did a really good job designing this tool and providing it within the cost of the actual rail. So I like that a lot. Since this rail is all one piece, you have to screw it down on there and you have to put the gas block on separately. This little hole here was a good thought on their behalf, because as you push the gas block through here, it doesn't seat correctly. It wants to kind of taper down and it won't make it through the hole of the receiver. So I had to take this little guy and, you know, stick it in here like this and then just get some leverage underneath it to guide the gas tube in. That part wasn't too bad. Then I had to use like a wooden dowel along the front here to push the gas tube down, seat it correctly, and then obviously I tightened the screw up from the bottom. So the problem that I had with this rail, and I think that this is somewhat of a goof by Knights. If we look at the box it came in, just this plain white box, it didn't come with anything fancy like most of their other stuff. Not the end of the world, but you get a series of shims like such. If you've seen the video that Knights actually has to show you how to install this, it's a similar process. But here's where things got hairy, because you've got 2 sets of instructions here. So you see here you've got the part explaining how the rail should line up hand tight and using the wrench. But then you've got this list of all the different little shims and, you know, what their thicknesses are, which ones you should use. But then you also get this, which is pretty much the same thing, but let's take a close look at this manual, because this one, you'll notice here that there are several layers of stickers here that basically have corrected whatever was misprinted, it looks like, several times on here. So the first printing, it looks like they put a sticker over it and then they put at least another sticker over it again. So using these measurements, and then it has something on here that was confusing because it says the black shim, and then this has the same thing, but then it doesn't say it's a black shim. Basically, by logical reasoning, looking at these things, measurements and stuff like that, I was able to figure it out on my own because the instructions were not correct. Following their instructions, the rail was way too easy to install, and then Once I figured out kind of the mistakes they made, then it was too tough to install. So I finally got it, and torquing this thing is an undertaking. It took, you know, almost everything I had to get it on there. The tool does a really good job of staying secure, but it just took so much torque on there. You know, I rigged it up in the vise and was kind of leaning on it so I could use my body weight in addition to a little bit of muscle, but it took a good amount of force. But overall, I'm happy with this. I think this is going to be a great setup. I've got the Flaming Pig on here, which I haven't actually used before, and it looks pretty neat. I was reading a little bit about this thing, and you actually have to take it apart and clean it because it is catching some of the carbon and stuff that comes out of the muzzle. That's pretty interesting. You know, that's pretty much it, guys. That's my experience, my build so far, and if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching.